Your Face, we're going to talk about a 12-year-old girl, woman that has lived a life as a sex slave. Now, she says, now this is coming from her, not me. She's saying this is the lifestyle that her parents created for her, is being a 12-year-old sex slave, because the rejection that she felt from her mom, she felt that she didn't get the love from her mom. She didn't get her father was not in her life after her parents had got divorced, that her father was never around. He took on another, a woman, he married another woman, and he adopted her kids, but then he didn't want anything to do with his biological kids. So how would that make a kid feel? How would she feel? Of course, she would feel rejected. So when she started to accept things in her life, she felt like, okay, this is attention, even though it was negative attention. And it was attention that led her into the abuse of alcohol. But then we're also going to hear the story of her triumph, her victory, how she came out of that, and how she totally changed around her life. Today, here with me is Gwen Reid, and we're going to be talking about sex slaves. And Gwen, we're going to talk about your mighty testimony of being a child sex slave and the things that you endure, and how did that happen to you? Because the topic of the show is called "What Are Parents Creating for Their Children?" Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about how, I know I was talking to you a little bit in the interview, and you were telling me how you feel that your parents created this avenue for you, how you became a sex slave. Will you let the audience know a little bit more about what happened? What was your journey in that? And how old were you when you got into sex slavery?
Well, my parents divorced. My dad left. My family's my mother is from a different country, and my sisters were born in another country and then came here. And my dad was having an affair with the lady at work, and then decided to be with her, and left us. And so my mom, needing to be the breadwinner and with no education and from a different country, she worked as a secretary and then went to school at night.
Okay.
And so there was nobody at my home to protect me. And then my mom felt sorry for another girl that she took on, mm-hmm. and the girl was not a good example for us. And
how old was this girl?
She was she moved in about when I was 11, and this girl was 14. And so she was very promiscuous and thought it was cool, mm-hmm. and so and then my other sister, when she was 13, had a boyfriend and having sex, and they didn't like me. And then my other sister was a different personality as I am, and more weak. She had scoliosis, and so my mom felt very sorry for her.
Okay.
And then the oldest sister was more like a mother, and
mm-hmm.
so she wouldn't tell.
Okay.
Okay. And so there was men coming over every night to my house, and I didn't feel safe. I never, after my dad left, when he was there, he would beat on us. But at least I felt some kind of safety.
So why were these men coming to your house? Were they coming to see your mom, or?
No, my mom was at work. They'd come over to use us.
Okay.
And use my house to drink and set up porn. And
so so you saying the girl that your mom allowed to come move into your house, she started this up? Or having the gentlemen come over? Or how did the men start to come?
It was all because the house was a weak home. There was no father there, and there was no protection because there was no parents there. So the men found a place to go carouse, and would just come over unwanted, and
so the men knew that you girls were there alone?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And if I were to tell, then I would be a rat.
Okay.
And so then you'd get beat up, and my sisters had me beat up really bad.
And how old were you, Gwen, when these events started happening?
Like 11. My sisters had me beat up really bad when I was 11.
Okay. By one of the guys?
No, by them, their friends.
Their friends, they would just beat you down? So let's go back a little bit. You saying now you believe that your parents created this this lifestyle for you. How do you
Yeah.
say that your parents was the creator of this?
Well, because I told my mom that I had sex because I ended up getting crabs.
Okay.
And I was 12 years old, and all she said was, "Are you on the pill?" She didn't, and I was I felt like a burden the whole time. And so I didn't want to ask my mom for money or ask her for anything, because all she would say is, "We're broke," and she didn't want to hear anything that I had to say. So I couldn't go to her for anything because she would just shun me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you felt like you were kind of pushed into this lifestyle.
Yeah, and the only people I got attention was from the men.
Okay. At the age of 11 years old.
Yeah, and then at 12 I was raped on
Oh,
my
wow.
birthday.
And how old were these men? Per se?
20, 21, 19, 20, 21, 22.
So the rape, it happened at the house? How did that
No,
take
that
place?
happened at the park, at Camino Real Park, up the street from my house in Ventura.
Oh, wow. So you were raped at 12 years old by a grown man?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And so how did that, I know that hadn't had to happen, that didn't help the situation, I'm sure, being raped. And
No.
so after the rape, did you go full into being a sex slave?
Not right. I just felt like it was weird because it wasn't like that I liked being raped, but I wanted somebody to want me.
So it was like you were kind of like in a sickness, I shall say.
Yeah, because my my dad left. He lived in the same town, and he knew it happened,
Okay.
but he went to school with, not the guy that raped me, but the guy that I was a sex slave to, like a few months later, because I needed a parent. I felt unsafe, and so if I was with one of those men, then at least I would be just with one, and I'd feel safe, and he would protect me from the other ones.
So you felt like the person who was enslaving you was your protector,
Yeah,
and that he would protect you from the other gentleman.
that's not a gentleman, but
I mean,
yeah.
well, from the other, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
from the
no.
other man.
Yeah.
The other guy.
Yeah, other
Wow.
guys.
So I mean, you were just a baby. I'm gonna say. I mean, you were
Yeah.
12 years old. You're very immature.
Yes.
And as you know, you do look for your parents as your protector.
Right.
They're the one who's supposed to protect you, and you felt like you didn't have that protection from your mother or your father. So that's why you're saying you saying the parents do create what happens in a child's life.
They didn't care. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. And your mom knew that you got raped,
Yes,
and your dad knew that you got raped.
yes.
And they didn't go to the proper authorities to,
Well, they called the police because my mom called my dad, but he didn't want to deal with it. And so they called the police, and the guy, not the one that raped me, the sex slave guy.
okay.
Okay, because it went from one directly to another one. Okay? And I didn't come home, and I snuck out because I wasn't doing well in school. I couldn't do the work. I couldn't concentrate. And so I just needed a friend
Right.
or anything, because I was just, alone. And so I hid, and the police came, and I hid in his closet. And
The sex slave guy.
yeah, and
Okay.
the parents said she's not here, and they knew I was there. And that was it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then the thing is I talked to my dad about it. He picked me up one day and had me stay the night and beat me up because of it.
Who beat you up?
My dad,
Your dad beat you up.
yeah.
Wow.
And then said that, he was drunk and said, yeah, the father of the sex slave was a champ. Those were his words. And that was a long time ago. I'm 49.
Your dad said that the guy was a champ?
The guy's father
The guy's father was
was
a champ?
a champ in high school at Ventura High.
Okay.
And so my dad was afraid of him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they just let
They
it
just
go.
kind of let it go and let
Yeah.
the guy do what he wanted to do.
Right.
Wow. So how did you get through this? I mean, this is something traumatic.
drank.
I mean, like, so you became an alcoholic.
Yeah, I'd steal it. I'd go and steal it. And then in the beginning, right after the rape, because that's when the drinking started, is when the rape started, right then at 12.
Okay.
Okay. And then.
So it was like a coping mechanism for you, the
Yeah.
alcohol. Wow. I mean, tell the people out there. How does it feel? I mean, you're 12 years old. You're saying you felt the guy as your protector, but at the same time, he's doing these horrific things
And
to you
beating
every
on
day,
me.
beating
And-
you, having sex with you when he wants to.
Right.
And I mean, how?
Beating me, sodomizing me till I cried, and begging him to not have sex with me anally, and he would do it anyway. And he was drunk too, and his parents were home, and I was
His parents-
13. Yeah,
Wait a minute.
yeah, I know.
You're telling me
I'm
that
telling-
his parents was home. You're crying. Let's say his parents were in the next room, and can they hear you crying?
No, because if I made noise, he'd put my head in the pillow
Okay.
and said, "If you cry, I'm going to beat you more," and he'd pull my hair and push my face in the pillow.
Okay, wait a minute. But his parents still know. Now he's in his 20s, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
He's in his 20s. They know that you look like a child. You are a child. And don't they wonder, okay, what is my son, he's 20-some years old, doing with a 13-year-old girl in his room?
Well, this is the only thing that I could think of. And then they'd see bruises just of him grabbing on my legs, and they go, "Did he do that?" And I said, "Yeah." And they'd hear him beating me up. But the thing was, is his dad, that wasn't his mom his dad that raised him, which was a child molester and a beater, it was normal for his mom.
Wow.
I know.
Well,
We're laughing about it. We have to.
Yeah, well, I thank God that you can laugh now, because
Now-
this is very horrific for you growing up.
Yeah.
This is not something that's easy. And I thank you that you are here today, because this cannot be an easy story to sit up here and tell. You're telling in front of viewers here, and millions of people are going to see this. And I thank God for your bravery, Gwen. I really do, because I don't know if I was in your place if I can do the same thing, to sit here and to tell your story, and for not to be how people may view you or how they may judge you, but it's all how God sees you.
Yeah.
And I think you are doing a wonderful, and you're doing a great thing to alert parents and let people know that these things are going on right here in the United States of America. It's not necessarily that it has to be in Uganda, or it has to be in Africa, or it has to be in Russia or anywhere like that, but it can be happening right here in your own backyard. But what are some of the things that took place while you were a sex slave, a child sex slave? I mean, it's so horrific what you're telling me here.
The good thing about it is that he tried to be my father, and I went to school every day,
Okay.
and he bought me school clothes. And so it was weird. He took care of me that way, whereas my mom didn't, and I was too young to work. I was like 12 or 13, and you want to know what happened? I mean,
Yes. Yes, we can get
Okay.
into the nitty-gritty. I mean,
Okay.
the point here is we want to help people, and we want to alert parents that what could possibly be going on. Like you said, Gwen here, she's from California. She's a native of California.
Ventura, yeah.
And she wasn't out of the country. She was right here in the United States, and these events took place in her life.
Yeah.
So we want, because a lot of people, they think that these things happen outside
Only
the
in
country.
Haiti.
Or yes, but we know that, hey, this happened to Gwen. She's right here. She's from California. She's California bred. She was a beach girl, right?
Yep.
She was a beach girl. She lived along the coast, the Pacific Coast Ocean. So, and these events took place in her life. So we want to alert you, that, hey, these things can happen, and just to know more about your children and their whereabouts and what's going on, and how you're parenting, and how that by your parenting, the things that you do, what it can possibly create. Because Gwen is saying in her life, what her parents have created for her is this kind of lifestyle, and this is exactly we don't want this to be what you to create as a parent for your child. This is horrific what Gwen has went through. We're not saying that there are not good parents out there, but we know there's a good and there's a bad, and not put anyone down, but we're just trying to alert you, to let you know the things that can take place in your child's lives if you're not being that nurturer parent. So we're going to finish up this with Gwen, this interview, and we're going to talk about her life as a childhood sex slave, and that maybe that she can help you, what she has to say about her journey through that trade. Correct, Gwen? Right?
That's right. That's what I'm here. Help somebody.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. And like I said, I thank you again for sharing your story, because it is horrific, and I know everybody would not be comfortable to say the things that they went through. I mean, it's horrific. You're just a baby. You're 12. You're just a baby. I mean, I raise kids, and you're so young. You're so young to go through this. I mean, I can't. I mean, I'm adult, and sometimes I think I'll be, getting married. I was nervous.
Yeah.
To make love to my husband. Mm-hmm. So I can imagine you being as a 12-year-old child, and you're seeing a full-grown man, how that can be kind of scary. That would be scary.
Yeah.
That would be pretty scary. And you, as you said, one of your coping mechanisms, you got into alcohol.
Yeah. Serious alcoholism.
Wow.
Every night I would drink every night till I fell asleep.
And that was like helping you with having sex with this guy all the time?
No, because what happens is I was introduced to pornography.
Okay. He introduced you to pornography?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the men in the house that came over introduced me to pornography, and so it started something inside of me that should have never been.
It stirs something up.
Yeah. And so it was difficult in the beginning, but then it became like an addiction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was like normal for you.
Yeah, because it was the only thing that felt good was alcohol and that.
Wow.
Except for when he was drunk and just, beating me and sodomizing me. But when he wasn't drunk, or when I was doing everything he wanted me to do, it was pleasurable.
Wow. So at 12 years old, you're saying because you're having sex, it becomes kind of sickening. It's something that you get used to. This is like your norm now.
Oh, yeah.
They're getting you into porn. You're watching the porn. You're enjoying it. Mm-hmm. The pleasure of the flesh, because it's happening to you, because it's waking things up. At 12 years old, that shouldn't be woke up.
Absolutely. And what I just want parents to know, what starts this is rejection.
Wow.
Rejecting your children. They will go anywhere they have to get attention. And so that's what I would like parents to know, that not spending time with your children, quality time, talking to them, engaging in emotionally with their children, that's what did it, because my mom just didn't like me, and even if she did, she was just so busy in her own life that she just didn't want to hear it. She just, let's just leave it alone, I guess. I don't know. I couldn't, because I asked her, and the thing is she raised my sisters, and then didn't want me, and so I left at 17, and then because I left the guy, the sex slave, and I was getting beat, and I remember he picked me up from school, Ventura High. I was 15, and he beat me. My face was so beat and bloody, and I was laying on the couch just crying and crying and crying, and she walked in and just looked disgusted with me.
Your mom?
Yeah, and didn't say a word about it, and that was so painful for me.
Wow, because your mom just like rejected you. It's like she didn't care.
I guess she either didn't care or thought I deserved it. I don't know. I can't imagine. I don't understand it.
Right.
But
you had to move on with your life, even though you felt like your mom did not care. But at that very important time in your life where you felt rejected, and it kind of opened that door for you into sex slave, because being accepted, like you said, even though it's very sick and very horrific what you went through, but you felt a sense of acceptance.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, and he told me, good things about myself.
At the same time where he's beating you and having sex with you, he told you good things. Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the only form of validation.
Wow. So what were some of the things that he would tell you that parents would know?
He would call me Gwen-jalicious. Remember when the bubble gum was out?
Okay, Bubblicious.
Bubblicious. He'd call me Gwen-jalicious, and just, it was all sexual stuff, but to me it was like anything.
You got something. Something was better than nothing.
Right.
Because you wasn't getting anything.
No.
You were being rejected.
Completely.
So somebody that was to come along and tell you, like, even though, like you said, it was sexual content, it was something.
Yeah, and
Something's
then he
better
would
than
tell me
nothing.
I was pretty and stuff, and he would buy me clothes and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Parents, it is really important to really talk to your children. You know, I understand that Gwen has went through something that was very horrific, but it's real. And, you know, maybe other kids are not going through that particular road, but they're going through things. Like sometimes when they say, let's say a boy, he's out there, he's robbing, he's stealing, and because he's not getting attention from you, but he's getting attention. It's like whether he gets you in the courthouse or he gets you in the play yard, he's going to get your attention.
Right.
And when he's getting you to the courthouse, now you're upset because you have to take time off of work. You're losing money.
A lot of money.
And you just expect for this kid to understand. But what you don't understand when he's screaming out is, please talk to me, be with me, spend some time with me. I had seen this just last week. I was in the post office. This is just, I'm off topic for a little bit. I was in the post office, and the lady, I was buying some stamps, and it was a mother, and she had two girls. So the post lady, she was saying, oh, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. And so she said, yeah, I'm working 2 jobs and this and that. You know, she's providing for her family, and I understand you have to provide for your family. But she said the little girl, she cries and screams when her mom has to go to her second job. She doesn't want her to go. But at the same time, the little girl doesn't understand that mommy has to pay this. You keep asking me for this and that. But the little girl, like you said, she wants attention. I want my mom to be there. Like her mother is gone away for too long length of a time. Because you come home from one job and then you go right into another, and by the time you come home, the child is asleep and the child barely never sees you, and all that. And like you said, you need to have time with that child, and that's all the child wants. They're screaming for attention, and if they don't get it from you in a positive way, they're going to get it from somewhere else. Unfortunately, that's what you're saying. That's what you're talking about. You got it in a very negative way, and you had to go through that heartache and that pain. But tell us, how did you come out of being a child slave? Before you told me, let me go back a little bit. You said in the interview, you said that then you went into bigger things after the child slavery. What were some of those bigger things that you went into?
And I married a man. I went to a party that the adopted older sister, went to a party at a motorcycle, very demonic motorcycle club.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And she invited me, and I was 17, and then I met my first husband there. Because then I thought, well, he wanted me, and he lived in San Francisco, and then I could get out of here.
Okay.
And
way of escape.
Yeah, so I went there, and naturally it went from bad to, way worse.
How is that possible? How can it go from child slavery from way worse? I would think that's bad.
Because he did the same things to me, and he was cheating on me, and he was doing meth, and he was into voyeurism.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so if I tried to leave, he'd put a gun to I did leave, and he put a gun to my head and walked me to the car in Ventura, and would find me and make me come home, and he beat me, and I have a scar on the back of my head. But then I had to, in order to get away from him, I had to go with one of his friends that was more of a heavy hitter.
Okay.
And then that caused a big scandal, but then he wasn't abusive like that. He wasn't at all like that. And that's the one I fell in love with.
Okay.
Because he was nice to me, but then I ended up, I needed to get help, because of my drinking.
Big time.
Yeah. So then I ended up, which was the best thing for me, he dumped me for another girl. And
so that was a good thing for you.
Yeah, it was killing me at the time, but then he dumped me for another girl, and then I went into a recovery home at 22.
Oh, wow. And this is at age 22?
Yeah.
You went to a recovery home for alcoholism?
Yeah, right out here.
Beautiful.
In Oxnard.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then I didn't even know anything was really wrong about what my mom was doing, and they're all, your mom didn't do anything about that? And I'm all, no, because it was like normal.
Right, it became a normal lifestyle for you.
Yeah, so But then she came to visit me there, and I'm like, why are you here? You didn't like me my whole life, and now you're here visiting?
You just didn't understand it.
Yeah, I didn't understand it at all. And so she'd come and I'd cry, and all I ever wanted was a dad.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you think missing your father played a big role in this as well?
Yeah, not having my dad. Yeah.
Wow.
And he lived in the same town as I did, and then married her and adopted her kids.
But couldn't see his own biological kids.
Right. She wasn't. She was jealous.
So he just like, oh wow. Yeah. I know. That's another avenue.
That's a whole other story.
There's no other story. Okay, we're not going over there today.
Not today.
Okay, so Gwen, tell us, how did you recover from all that? How did you get out of sex? How did you? I mean, because the things that you've been through. I mean, to me, you would think that you would lose your mind.
That's what everybody says, but
You've been through a lot. You've been through a lot as a young girl.
Yeah.
Alcoholism up to the age of 22.
Yeah.
You went into recovery.
Yeah.
And can I say your age?
Yeah.
You're 49 today.
49.
She's sober. She's clean. So, and thank God for that. But how did you triumph? How did you get the victory through all this and come out in your right, stable mind?
Well, the thing was I wasn't raised with God, and they were the women at the it was called Miracle House, and this was in 1988.
Okay.
And the women there was all different colors. I was always around white. There was a couple of black girls, women, and Hispanic, and it was good, because we were all from different places, and
Right.
and I learned a lot about their stuff. Like police some of them were prostitutes. I don't know if I want to.
It's okay.
Okay, and police, she would tell me, the police would, say, oh, well, if you have sex with me, I'll let you get out of it, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so, I didn't hate men or anything like. I was never a lesbian or anything like that, and I always loved men. Mm-hmm. But I just, but when I went into that recovery home, then the ex kept calling.
Okay.
And trying to get me back because I was doing better. But he was with another girl in Canada, so it's a long story. But I found God. And the only way I said, okay, well, just reveal yourself to me because I don't know how to do this.
Right.
I go, where are you? And if you're true, what happened here? Why did you let this happen to me?
Okay.
And then I would just walk to the store because I'm hyperactive, and I have to exercise, and they'd let me, alone. Okay. And then I would just find money, and it'd be like, it would just like $20 I needed money, or I needed, all of a sudden he just revealed himself to me, and I felt safe for the first time.
For the first time in your life.
Yeah, I felt safe, and it was, you'll never forget it. You don't forget that, when you're 22 years old and then all of a sudden you feel safe.
Wow.
And then I got out, and my mom didn't want me at her house, so she made me stay with my sister, and my sister was still drinking, and then I started to drink again for 2.5 years, and the whole time I was drinking, I would just pray, oh my God, Lord, I'd be a waitress at Charlie Brown's, and I'd go to the bar, and then I'd drive home, and I'd just say, God, please help me to quit drinking, help me, because I went back to that relationship, and that's what the alcohol and anyways.
The sickness.
Yes, the sickness. Yeah. And so finally, after 2.5 years, it was my 25th birthday, and I just would pray, God, help me. I don't want to have an accident. I don't want to hurt anybody. I need you to set me free from this. And then nothing happened. I just went out to sushi one night and drank a bunch of sake with some friends, and I didn't even get wasted. And then that was it.
And then you never had another drink after that?
Never again since I was my 25th birthday. And then I met my husband in AA, and then he was older than I was, and he hated his mom too because some issues. So then we were mom haters,
You were mom haters, okay.
So anyway, and we got along. He had a motorcycle, and we had fun together. And he was older than me. He was 45, and I always chose him older. you know. And
That's
I was
probably, maybe that was part of
26.
the thing, because you
The
were
father.
so used to them, the father image. Wow.
Yeah, well, plus my background, think how far along I was.
Right.
I mean, think about it.
You're way
Way
advanced.
advanced.
Way advanced, yes. The most 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Been
think
through a
about
lot.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so I met him, and we just became best friends, and then I married him, and then we went through fertility, and I had my kids, but then he died. And then the same thing, then my mom died, and then this was 8 years ago, then the same thing happened with my I went through the same feelings of rejection. The church rejected me, probably because I was younger, and I looked a little bit better, and I had my husband's money, and people didn't want me around.
Okay.
And they kicked my kids out of church. And then they ended up on heroin, but right now they're clean, you know. And I raised them under the blood of Jesus, and I don't believe you can lose, you know, what God gives you, you know.
Okay. So God was the answer for you.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the answer for everybody. There's no other way for me. I
Wow, was his only God.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you heard it here from Gwen today, and her life story of being a child sex slave at the age of 12, starting at 11 with multiple men, and going into it at 12 years old, and her life got horrific from there, and went into therapy for alcoholism at 22, and really got delivered when she was 25. And the solution for her was Christ in her life, that leaded her and guided her out of that life. So as we're talking to Gwen, she was a child sex slave, and Gwen, again, I just thank you for being here and sharing your story to the world. It is much needed, because right now we're dealing with a lot of things in the world, and I take my hat off to you. If I had one on, I would take it off to you. And it's just a serious. I learned something, you know, today.
Did you?
Yes,
Oh,
I
good.
did, because my life, I couldn't imagine that if I could go through something like that and survive. And you are most definitely a survivor, and I most definitely know that God has many, many things for you, and you're going to, that testimony is going to be told all over the place, and it's going to help so many women and boys, because it's not just girls who are sex slaves, there are also young boys who are sex slaves as well. So until next time, this is Tonya and Gwen with In Your Face.